Hello and a warm welcome to another exclusive edition of The Views live on Freetown Television Network on channel 35. Simulcast on Freetown Radio on FM 90.4. I am Eustace Victor Jones. Our quote for today's edition of the program is a Latin phrase, Dum spiro spero. It means, while I breathe, I hope. In the studio this afternoon, I have with me an analyst from the Mayoress's Delivery Office, Lyndon Banks Johnson. Good afternoon and welcome to The Views.
Good afternoon, listeners and viewers.
All right, he'll be talking on the launch of the Cleanest Zone competition in Freetown, which have been launched on 10th October 2018. We're also expecting a guest from the Junior Doctors Association and also a representative from Ex-Servicemen Association. The program will start now, but before we do, dear viewer, displaying on the screen is a number to which you could send your text messages to any of what is being discussed in the program this afternoon. You can also follow us and all application broadcast live. Just place a search for Freetown Television Network. Now, once more, welcome, Lyndon.
Thank you.
Basically, take us through what does this mean, Cleanest Zone competition? One might be wondering.
Well, the Cleanest Zone competition is an initiative of the Mayor of Freetown. It is a component of the Transform Freetown plan that the Mayor has. Basically, as the word goes, Cleanest Zone competition. We know Freetown is divided politically into 48 wards, and those 48 wards are also divided into 320 zones. So to motivate people, the Cleanest Zone competition is a way to motivate communities to clean and maintain their environment. That is the logic or the rationale behind the program, Cleanest Zone competition. And so we've decided to incentivize the cleaning of zones. The zonal sectioning of Freetown is the smallest unit of communities in Freetown. So we've decided to incentivize communities to be able to clean and maintain their environment. Now, this is as a result of looking at a lot of things. We've seen in past years that we've been prone to flooding in most communities. Recently, the Freetown City Council just completed a flood mitigation exercise, and we want to maintain the gains of the flood mitigation exercise and the current national cleaning exercise that goes on every last Saturday. This is to get communities to come together, work, clean. Cleanest Zone competition, this is what we mean. But again, the catch there is we are not grading communities per se, the cleanest zone or the cleanest community. No, because if we say it as it is, then we cannot compare, say, a community like Kobe or Moab or some of these slums communities to Wilkinson Road and Spur Road. But the Cleanest Zone competition is looking at communities who have made strides to improve in the cleaning of that community. So this is divided into 4 phases. One phase of this whole Cleanest Zone competition is public awareness, like we're doing now. We need to get communities to understand that the cleaning and maintaining of their environment is their business. That's why we've divided it into. And also, basically after the public awareness stuff, we also have what we call the baseline assessment, which is ongoing right now. The baseline assessment is sending a teams of assessors who go into these zones or these areas or these communities and look how the places are. It's to get a baseline, to look at how the communities are, how their public spaces are, how their drainages and waterways and gutters are, all these places. They just look at it and understand what it is like. The second phase of that is they go and do a grading system. we've already developed a template wherein these assessors go to these communities. They've gone there before, so they know how they met it. And they go for the second time, they do a grading system. And the whole competition for this grading system is divided into 4 phases, 4 criteria. The first criteria is cleaning. I mean, the first thing is visual. You go to a community, you see it is clean, free of garbage, free of plastics in gutters, the gutters are free of silt and solid waste. The second criteria is about what we look at, beautification. We want communities to start to beautify. We cannot beautify the whole of Freetown if we don't start at zonal level. So when assessors go to these communities, they look at how these communities are making strides to beautify their communities. One, we look at vegetation. Most people now, trees, flowers, even carpet grasses.
You think that will be possible?
It is possible because we've seen other countries in the world doing it. I mean, when you go, you look at one thing about Sierra Leoneans is we don't value the land. One sad thing is when people clean, when they say people clean, they chop down all the trees, even scrape all the grasses. These have a great impact on the environment because we see flooding. We see most of our gutters and waterways filled with not only solid waste, but also silt, gravel. Because you clean all the top surface, there is no, vegetation to hold the running of water. So it just washes out and causes a lot of erosion, which ends up in our drainage systems, why our streets and communities flood all the time. So one criteria is we look at the vegetation. Do communities plant flowers? Do they plant trees? Do they plant even carpet grasses to make the environment look green? Because it's also part of promoting a green scenery. And then we also look at innovation or sustainability first. Innovation. Sustainability. After cleanliness, beautification, we also look at sustainability. After every general cleaning in the country, after 1 week, you see the place dirty again, as if nothing has been done. So we want to see which communities do maintain what arrangement they put in place to make sure the environments are clean. Because no one is coming from nowhere to litter your community except the people who are in these communities.
So in that instance, what activities are you actually looking for? Dustbins around? Dumping sites and the like? Exactly,
because we know there are a lot of illegal dump sites. Every backyard, every bridge, every gutter or waterway, people just dump there. So we look at how communities try to maintain this themselves. This is a community-based, community-led approach to cleaning. Instead of external parties or external actors or external donors pouring monies to clean communities, that will never be sustainable. We've seen other models around the world where communities take the fight to clean their own communities and maintain it, even putting bylaws in place. Because the Freetown City Council or the ministries or the police or law enforcement agencies will not go into these communities and catch culprits who will litter the communities. But the communities themselves can put these mechanisms just to maintain the cleanness of their environment. And the last thing we will look at during this assessment will be like doing things newly in a different way, thinking out of the box. I mean, for instance, we've gone to communities wherein they cut jerry cans, fix them to trees, and get people to dump. That's innovative enough. So what are communities doing? What are communities doing innovatively to get their environments clean? So we look at all those and grade them. So this is what we expect community. That's why we've put it in the form of a competition. And because we put it in the form of competition, we've put an incentive to it. There are prizes. So at the end of every 6 months, we'll have 1 winner and 3 runners-up. Every 6 months, we'll do assessments and see which community or which area has made a significant
on all of these prevailing
a significant improvement in cleaning their communities. And so what do we give as prizes to motivate communities to clean themselves, to clean their environment? The first thing would be 10 solar panel lights. So the winner will get 10 solar lights, which will be placed in that community.
Households or?
No, street lights, solar street lights in the community. So we want to, that's why we say zones. A zone is not a big area. It's a small area where everybody know themselves. So putting it that, making it at zonal level will drive communities to do this. Okay. And we're also looking at people who are influential in the communities, who are not politicians, who are just people who command some form of influence to drive this. We call them drivers of change. They are in the communities. We're working with world development committees. We're working with councillors. We're working with entrepreneurs or people who are social actors, who are influencers, to champion this in their communities. And after solar lights, we'll also do roads. We've decided to do 0.5 kilometers, which is 500 meters road, feeder roads in the community. So the winning community will say, we need a road here. And we can do that. And what are we doing? What are we using to do these roads? We're using recycled plastics to do these roads. We've contacted people who do plastic dallets. These are like tiles made from recycled plastics and sand. And these are very durable. People are using them. So also, the roads we want to do are also environmentally friendly roads, because this whole thing is about environmental management. So this again will incentivize and monetize plastics. We had a problem of metals some years back in this country. When metals were monetized, there are no metals. People are even digging to get metals for sale. So if we also incentivize people to get plastics from their communities, go and sell to plastic manufacturers who do this plastic recycling, we reduce plastic, because plastic pollution is a big problem in our country. So that's also doing these roads with recycled plastics. And water points. We know our communities suffer from the lack of water. So the winner will also get a water point, where you can put a water point in that zone, in that area, for the whole community to access. This could be Guma Valley. If there is an access to Guma Valley, we can connect them to Guma Valley, or we get a big water tank, thousands of liters, wherein the community can have access. And the fourth thing is 10 scholarship support. Scholarship support to 10 students, vulnerable students in that particular zone. 4 boys and 6 girls. This is to also complement the free education package. And this scholarship support will go for uniforms, shoes, bags, and books.
So the scholarship, at which level do people expect?
This is
university?
Not universities. We're talking about primary and mid-secondary, just the free education, to complement the free education package. Okay. So these are the prizes. And the second, third, and fourth runner-up will have to choose one of those 4 prizes, with the exception of the road, because it's very expensive.
Okay. Thanks very much. This is the Views Live on Freetown Television Network on channel 35 and on Freetown Radio on FM 90.4. For those of you 8271-052. For those of you viewing on television, the number is written on your screen. Or you could also go to our Facebook page at FTN News and drop your comment there. We're streaming live also on YouTube. If you have your live application, just place a search for Freetown Television Network and drop your comments. We'll ensure to read them. I have in the studio with me this afternoon an analyst from the Mayor's office, delivery office, Lyndon Baines Johnson. He's explaining the criteria that will enable a particular community to win the cleanest zone competition, which had been launched in Freetown on 10th October 2018. The discussion continues this afternoon. Now, Lyndon, let me just draw your attention. In communities, people have been grumbling for the past few years even that community, a very rare factor which had led most people to be dumping garbage in streets and public areas, because they say, according to them, there are no dustbins or dump sites in their communities. That is a major factor, firstly. shouldn't the ministry had looked into this first before organizing a competition like this to, you know, assess cleanliness zone? Because the zone cannot be clean without a strategic point for them to be dumping their garbage. Don't you think that is what they call?
The Freetown City Council is not oblivious of the fact that waste management is a serious problem. We acknowledge that fact, and all these little initiatives we put in together is to drive us to a bigger picture. Okay. The people of Freetown and Sierra Leone should understand that waste management is a big issue. It's a capital-intensive issue. The idea of communities having dustbin, that's not environmentally sustainable, health-wise. It's not good to have dustbins in communities. Imagine you have a dustbin in front of somebody's house. It attracts flies and other rodents. So where are we driving towards? We're driving towards a system, a comprehensive waste collection and waste management system at household levels. And we can only do that when communities recognize that this idea of them, of people or government or city council getting their waste for them and disposing their waste for free will never be sustainable. We can do that. Communities, households, businesses, industries have to pay for their waste. Okay. And so this initiative is just a microcosm of where we want to go. Okay. And where do we want to go? We are working on a comprehensive waste management system for Freetown, but it has to start from somewhere. For the past year or so, there have been young people around with tricycles going house to house collecting 2,000 per bag for garbage. This is something we would like to see grow. These are initiatives we would like to aggrandize, to broaden. Why? Because if people know that they should pay for their waste, you put a lot of young people in business. There are a lot of people hanging around, young people hanging around, who would rather go and collect garbage from houses. People with the whole waste management system set up well, other companies like Masada will come on board. People will invest their money into the waste collection system. And then we're planning to really divide the city into zones where we'll have a lot of service providers. In other countries, what happened? Every household registers with a waste collection service. In fact, that's your ticket. When we go out for inspections, if your house is not registered to a waste collection system, a waste collection service provider, which means you are depositing your garbage illegally. So when we get to that, we make sure everybody is registered and you have a contract with the waste service collector. So if your contract is 2 days a week or 3 days a week, depending on how you generate your waste, then we are able to rid communities of garbage. And so the Cleanest Zone competition is an initiative that can drive communities to that. We want to close all illegal dump sites. That is one thing we have to do. And people of this country, it's just too sad to see people wanting free things all the time. You see what happens with
because of the economic strain.
No, it's not about economic strain. It's about
people are poor.
It's not about being poor. It's about taking responsibility for what you do. I mean, there are poor people, but as long as there are systems in place. And also, the Cleanest Zone competition is also trying to drive waste separation at household. Because when you look at our garbage collection system, you go to our dump site, Bome and Kintom, most of the garbage that goes there is plastics and biodegradables. So if there are initiatives where people convert waste to energy, now we're looking about plastic recycling. It's a big business, but until systems are in place. So one of the targets for the Cleanest Zone competition is people separate their plastics from their trash, because you know your plastics are going to be sold to people who recycle plastics. So that reduces, with all these initiatives, to reduce the quantum of garbage that goes to our landfill, that goes to our dump sites. So again, people should learn to pay.
Okay, thank you very much. That being said, it's an ingenious mechanism to have, that reduced, huge quantity of that dumped at sites, reduced in communities and areas where they had been dumping them previously. But now let's see. One would say, I heard over the news, I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, that these sites you made reference to just now are we expect people to be taking their garbage in the next 1 to 2 years from now.
Right. We are also not oblivious of the fact that the Granville Brook, or known as the Kisibome, is full. And there have been feasibility studies for Freetown to get an engineered landfill or a new dump site.
What should be different from that one and these?
Now, the engineered dump sites, things are going to be different. They're going to. So the amount of garbage that will finally go to the dump sites will be reduced because the biodegradable bottles will be recycled. That's for the future. But for now, working on that presently, which funds are already being agreed to do a new landfill, engineered landfill at Kinton. For Kisi,
very Kinton.
Yes, Kisi, they are transforming Kisi landfill to an engineered landfill, which will have all these different. It's going the intention to do a material. One is closed. Those materials there will be recovered for renewable energy purposes and other recycling business.
It brings me to another question. Don't you think the council should be working seriously to have huge companies to come and invest into our economy, thereby establishing huge recycling companies like Meta? It is not as huge as we would expect. Huge, factories.
Yeah, of course. Recycling is the way. In fact, there are 3 just only the council. We're working assiduously with the central government. Central government is doing their own thing in that line to encourage entrepreneurs and private sector investment into the recycling business. But you have to create the enabling environment for these people to operate. Which brings us back to the thing about policy. If we have a policy, say a comprehensive policy on plastics, then the plastic manufacturer, the plastic recycling companies will know there's a space, there's an opportunity here to invest. So it all boils down to what regulations would be in place to create the enabling environment for people to come into the space and do their thing. So these are all things we're working towards.
Thanks very much. Continue to stay with us in the program. As I said earlier, he's Lyndon Baines Johnson. It's from the office of the Analyst Delivery Office of the Mayoress of the Freetown Municipality, Yvonne Aki Sawyer. The program you're viewing is The Views, and it's coming to you live on Freetown Television Network, and it's on channel 35 and also simulcast on frequency modulation 90.4. Freetown Radio. I announced earlier that the number to which you could send your text messages to is the number 078-271-052, or you could also follow us on our Facebook streaming live at FTN News, or visit our YouTube channel, or also our Lime application. Just place a search for Freetown Television Network. I am Eustace Victor Jones. Let's go for a short break. We'll be right back.
there any insert where you are in play or in play?
Knock out insert.
You like anything from council? Okay. Then guess no kite.
No.
Man, they look like they don't know time. No, you're quick. I would ask him on Facebook, eh? No, I was thinking. Okay. YouTube. Can you see that? I don't watch. YouTube, eh? Ask me someone a message, any message on your phone.
But I use still in the
Oh.
Nobody.
Okay.
Just go on YouTube, like FTN. The Gijan and Ragu.
No, look at it. Okay.
Go inside. Outside the camera. Open the camera.
Yes. The program you're viewing is The Views live on the same channel, on channel 35. I am Justice Victor Jones, and also we are streaming on a YouTube channel. You could visit there and drop your comments. The number to which you could send your text messages to is 078-271-052. The program is also linked on radio, on Freetown Radio on FM 90.4. In the studio this afternoon, I have an analyst from the Mayor's office, Delivery Office, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who is there talking on a kind of campaign to reduce dirt in the capital city, the cleanest zone competition, which had been launched on 10th October 2018 this year. We are pushing the discussion forward. You could add your voice, as I said, to the number 078-271-052. Now, Lyndon, you've spoken beautifully about how the council is projecting to reduce dirt in the next 2 to 3 years. But now, another extreme indecent condition we've been seeing in the capital city and its immediate environs is street urination. I don't know, probably it is due to attitude or deliberate wickedness and viciousness from people. But I don't know if it is because of the council has not been effective to how it has been expecting to be. People just go around, urinate in the open. Previously, the council had said that anyone who does such will be arrested and will pay a huge amount of fine. But we see of late, people are doing this thing with impunity. They can just stand in the open anywhere in the city and urinate. At the end of the day, nothing will be done to them. There are no even council officers around. We don't see them, except on rare occasions when they want to institute an arrest for traders peddling in the street. What is happening?
Again, this all boils to attitude. We've had a couple. We've had so many Sierra Leoneans go out of this country and they behave appropriately. But when they come back home, they do the worst. You see people in their vehicles, for instance, throw trash out of their cars. They don't do that elsewhere. So this all boils down to attitude. And again, it's indecent to just stand in every street corner and urinate. I mean, for your personal integrity and discipline, you don't do that. But again, the Freetown City Council or whatever law enforcement agency will not have those eyes those multitude of eyes in every corner in the country or in the communities. But community people are there. They see what is happening. They know who and who are committing these nuisances in these communities. They should effect those arrests. They should report. We've had cases where people will come and report their neighbors for nuisances. For instance, some have their cesspit tanks. They become so filled and cause a nuisance in the environment. They come, they report, and the council takes action. So again, it's a problem of capacity. The council doesn't have people all over the place to monitor. So that's why we've come with this to a zonal level. The cleanest zone competition will drive communities to look after themselves, to look and see what happens in their community. Now, the reason why we want everybody to know about this is, even who knows there is a competition, my zone should be clean so that we can win a prize. Mind you, solar street lights, roads, and water point, these are all development things for the community. So which zone will not want to win that? So if that comes in place, and one catchphrase, one thing I forget to mention is, one thing we've added in this whole competition thing, if you are caught or anyone is caught dumping garbage illegally in these communities, your zone is automatically disqualified from the competition. So this again, that's why we're calling on all stakeholders, not just the political class, but the social class, the business class. They have a meeting with the community. There are people already who are so enthusiastic about this initiative. They're coming out of their fences, interacting with their neighbors. Let's do this. And some of these people have the wherewithal, they have the means to motivate youth around. Let's clean our community. Let's find a solution to how we can collect and dispose of our garbage without city council or without government. Communities can do it themselves. You know, there is this thing called the Umuganda. Umuganda, this is a national cleaning day concept at zonal level that happens in Rwanda. Today, Rwanda is one of the cleanest countries. But they started from where we are right now. They were so disorganized, so filthy, plastics all over. But how did they do it? They started with communities cleaning. And so this community will say, all right, this time around, we will make sure all our gutters are clean. They will remove all the silt. I mean, there are people who are there who are influential. All right, I will take charge of my own area. The thing about cleaning is not just cleaning your backyard. The thing about the public spaces. We want to make our country a tourist attraction. How do we do that if we maintain very filthy environments? No, we can't. So it's about visibility. You look at a place, you see it's clean. You go to Kigali today, you see it's green, it's clean. Because people have taken upon them, communities have taken upon themselves to clean. They're not expecting government to spend 2 billion loans every other week for them to clean. The communities put mechanisms in place. That's why we're looking at sustainability and innovation. What are communities doing? We are also working in the background to make sure we have multiple SMEs. Some of these youth groups, we want to capacitate them so that they go house to house and collect. We're working on transfer stations where people go and collect them. They take them to transfer stations, they're sorted out and then taken to the dump sites. So these are all initiatives we are driving, but it should be community-led. Our insistence in this competition is driving development at community level. So only the bottom-top approach is going to work. We've tried the top-bottom approach, it's not working. But communities have solutions to their own problems. So it's a matter of giving them the opportunity and the space for them to think. And people aren't stupid, they can think. And as long as they know, imagine, you know, when we brought this to the open, people are saying, oh, well, if you take it clear zone competition, Spur Road and Wilkinson Road will automatically win. And then Moab, Susan's Bay, Kube, Wokupa Wharf, and all these slums will not win. We said, no, that's not the idea. The idea is what community has made significant progress in cleaning. So it doesn't matter, the assessors will go to your ward now and they see it's really dirty. But they go again, they see, oh, this place was dirty, it's not clean. And what are we looking at? We're looking at public spaces, the drainage systems. We're looking at the gutters. We're looking at how you beautify your streets. It's time we look at carpet grass do we plant? What trees do we plant in our areas? Or even gardens. There are places you just leave bushy. You can plant vegetables. It all contributes to the green scenery we want to see. And it makes our environment healthy. We'll reduce malaria, we'll reduce cholera, and we'll reduce flooding and other environmental health disasters we have in our communities.
Indeed. Well, that's well spoken. I applaud the ingenious mechanisms the ministry is going to organize so that the country can ameliorate the huge pile of dirt. But have you noticed something that since the launch of the first Saturday cleaning in every month, people are now storing their garbage in their houses for the day so that they could get rid of them. Huge bags, bowls, packed, stored in the middle of the street. As I speak to you, there are junctions within the capital city here, the central business district, with huge piles of dirt, or garbage if you like. Who's responsible? Which brings me to the question, really, who or which ministry is actually responsible to carrying out cleaning Saturday in every month? Is it the council?
That's a big ask. That's a big ask. But
I haven't been seeing the collaboration.
What I would say,
the ministry is being excluded.
What I would say is all local councils and district councils are under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development as the parent ministry who supervises their activities. But the cleaning of communities, the cleaning of cities, districts, is the whole responsibility of the councils. They should pioneer that. So that's why it is imperative, it is very much important for a synergy to be with the ministry and the councils. Because again, it comes to enforcing bylaws. Sometimes when they say cleaning, Sierra Leoneans are now in the habit of hoarding their garbage and waiting for National Cleaning Day. And if we continue this way, we will spend billions of leones and we will arrive at nothing.
So what's the solution?
So this is also an area of increasing the capacities of councils in terms of getting public health aids. When we were growing up, when we were young, if they say a city council inspector is coming, health inspector is coming, or a Ministry of Health sanitation officer is coming, you make sure you clean your compound. You make sure you clean up. Because when they come, they give you a ticket, they fine you. This is what can make it sustainable. If we have these multiple people going out every day in communities, they meet a garbage pile in your compound, and that serves as a deterrent. But now it's not happening, so people are waiting. This is also the mentality of having everything free. Now government has done this initiative. It's beautiful, but it's time for people to think of how to pay. You generate your garbage anyway. You generate it, you have to pay for it. 2,000 or whatever price, you agree with somebody who takes it and takes it to the dump site. That's what happens in civilized communities. If people are willing to pay, people will come and invest, give you a bill. You dump your garbage there, they come there at times, agree, and they collect your garbage and take it to the dump site. That way, we'll get our environment clean. But people will go and buy all the food they want. They don't think they are poor. But when it comes to pay for their garbage, 2,000, then they want to exemplify poverty. No, it doesn't work that way.
Is the Freetown City Council understaffed? The Freetown City Council, is it understaffed?
In terms of capacity to do all these things, I would say yes. Because now, in terms of sanitation alone, back in the days when the population of Freetown was small, there were public health aides that go to communities and make sure the place was clean. 10, 15, 20 years ago, Freetown was clean because there are these people. But our population in Freetown, it has increased exponentially. And in the next 10 years, it will go to 2 million. Because we are 1 point something million right now.
Will the council be able to contain?
And so we need more people. So it also boils down to the ministry, the Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Health, getting people, because this is not only a Freetown City Council problem. Health and sanitation, there is a Ministry of Health and Sanitation. Yeah. So that's why also I'm talking about synergies, where the council and these ministries will collaborate to make sure all these things are worked on together as a unit and not somebody just trying to take the blame. The Freetown City Council alone cannot do it. We want synergies, we want to work with all other parties. That's why we're starting it at the local level. How do you come into the clear zone competition? I am in my compound, I may be in the first fenced compound. I pay for my crash. I have an arrangement with Masada or Mr. Clean or Clean Salon or whatever group. But again, you live around a community that is filthy. How do you come? This is time for people to come out and interface. You know what happens? You know what happens in Rwanda? Every last cleaning day, that's Friday, people go to bed early. Because you have to wake up in the morning and clean your community. And each zone is divided to 10 houses. Every 10 houses is one zone. So you virtually know who is who in that community. And so when we tell you, you don't go and clean. They will take up your name.
Is there where the council copied the ingenious mechanism?
Well, just recently, I was fortunate to be part of a study tour to Rwanda with the Ministry of Health and Sanitation and the Environment Protection Agency to go and study how they have dealt with plastics. And so we went and saw, and these are some of the things we saw. How did you get rid of plastic? How did you get your environment so clean? It boils down to defragmenting cleaning at the zonal level, at the area level. So if all of us come out, join with our other communities, other community people, we clean and maintain our environment. We can even put bylaws. Anybody can do it or we owe you. Will they go city council or they can go police? That's what happens. And when communities do that, people have the habit to go and dump at night. The community people know who does that. So this cleanliness zone competition will give people in the community the authority to see who violates their own laws. We have traditional rulers. We have section chiefs in our communities who command respect, who people are taken to. So that's why we want to defragment the whole cleaning thing at community level. You take ownership. Whatever challenges you have, the council knows. We escalate it and make sure enforcement things. We don't have enough municipal police to police the whole of Freetown. Our police are very few, which also boils down to capacity. You just can't employ. You need resources because if you employ, you have to pay. But if our communities at this zonal level can come together, a united people is a powerful people.
Yeah. Would you say the council is underfunded? Do you have the requisite support from the government to move your heads on the swivel to achieve all of these, distant successes we are discussing here this afternoon?
You look at the whole economy of the country, and you look at various means of generating
money,
revenue,
okay,
own source revenue. So this also is one challenge that the council faces, that we want to maximize revenues, because when you collect lots of revenues, how many people in Freetown have been paying their local tax? Because all these things, sanitation, waste collection, schools, doing public toilets, all these are taxpayers' money. How many people really do pay tax for these services to be delivered? We know people have this apprehension of, they will eat with money. It's happened in the past, but this is a new dawn, a new direction and a new way of doing things. We want to get as much home source revenue and looking at all other avenues where council can have money. We are building up systems in place to make sure council collects enough revenue to deliver service, because the idea of being in position is to deliver service and not enrich yourself. And so these are what we want. We want this time around for people to pay their taxes and then see the services being delivered. And we know one of the biggest challenges among all others in this city is waste management.
Certainly. So now, another issue is that we have porous communities within the Central Business District, Freetown, where it is hardly rare to see council police of the city. They are there up the hills I'm referring to. How do you access those places? Don't you think it is high time, the council started doing community sensitization and door-to-door discussions with people, especially up the hills? I'm telling you this out of experience, because those people can throw things, and those are the things that are washed down to the city. We can clean all we could, we can make the place decent, we can institute mechanisms which could, in fact, be ingenious to cleaning the city. But if those who are up there keep throwing trash, bowls and bags of that, no matter how the city is cleaned, we will still see huge quantity of dirt being dumped in gutters, drainages, and highways.
That's why we've divided this whole cleanliness zone competition into 320 zones.
Are they aware of them? Do you access
the whole of Freetown? Western area rural, western area urban, Freetown, starting from Allentown to Levuma, Godrich.
Okay.
That's where Freetown spans. And these are divided into these 320 zones. So we are sitting in one zone here right now. You can take a day and you can walk through this zone and you will know what happens in this zone. We've decided to defragment this way so that we'll have visibility. And every zone has a World Development Committee member who champions these things. These are people in the world. We want to give opportunities to these people in their communities to come out with initiatives, solve their own problems, their own way thinking, rather than us thinking for them what to do. We have waste creating communities, of course, we are not oblivious of that fact, especially people upstream who dump, and then the likes of Moab and Kube feel the pinch of it.
Exactly.
So all that is in line in our plans in this cleanest zone competition and Freetown initiative, where we take note of all that. We want first of all to clean not only the garbage in our waterways or our gutters, but also silt, gravel, all these pebbles, piles of dirt that is being wasting on vegetation, so people to plant trees, grass to hold the soil together. So these are all things. Every zone in this Freetown is in our plan. And no matter where you are, down the coast or uphill, you are part of the cleanest zone competition. So it's not just for the councillors, the elected councillors, but it's also for everyone. The cleanest zone competition looks at everybody. It is for Freetonians, and Freetonians should take this competition seriously. And I was telling somebody the other day, who knows, Kube might win. And when they win, they get a road, they get lights, and slowly transform. This is also how you transform a city, starting with the communities, because it's difficult. We will not want to say we'll go and build a road and solar street lights in this community, then you will have been biased. But let communities work hard themselves, show a sense of responsibility as a community, and then you get this big with these particular prizes. So imagine we have these prizes all over. Some communities will be lit, and then we will reduce crime in some of these darkest communities who have shown significant improvements in environment and sanitation issues.
Okay. The other thing, as we've been discussing just now, is the attitude of people. You could see at every instance that when it rains, people will gather, in huge multitude even, and start throwing their wastages in gutters for them to be washed away. Don't you think that also boils down to, but let me ask firstly, do you have a public education department at the council?
Yes, we have.
Is it effective?
It is. It is a vibrant.
Because we still see the same things. People.
These things are not just the Freetown City Council. The whole mentality of Sierra Leoneans in the first place have to change about a lot of things, not only environment and sanitation, even the way we build our houses, even the way we plan our environment. So it's a whole complex chain that we have. But when it comes to sanitation, particularly like I'm discussing here, people have to take the responsibility. Those who are upstream, who are up the hills, or who live by waterways, should have a duty of care to others. Now, the similar action of throwing your garbage and expecting the water to take it away, you're destroying our marine lives. Our mangrove swamps are filled with garbage. Our seas are filled with plastics, and most of these big fishes, who will say the mother fish who give birth to a lot of fishes that we eat plastic and they die. You go to our mangroves, it's being littered. Our beaches are being littered. We see tourists going to other countries. They don't come to Sierra Leone. They do their background research. Is Sierra Leone really fit to come? Is the place come to? You come to Freetown, you see the whole place, you know, dirty. So look at Long Beach. Look at our coastal beach filled of garbage. Who is putting all those garbage? It is us as Sierra Leoneans. So it's a matter of changing our attitude. There's a dump site, and there are structures and mechanisms we want to put in place. People can go and collect your garbage from your house and safely dispose of it at the dump site. You have to pay. That is something we have to drive at. That would be the only thing that we can sustain our environment. Cleaning for people for free, getting your garbage all the time out, every last Saturday, you sit on it, you hold it. Imagine, after 1, 2, 3 cleanings, and we see the quantum of garbage that comes out every last Saturday, 2,000 per bag. For your household, it's gone. So before the end of the end of month cleaning, you will not have garbage to even take out. That's why government is spending fortunes every cleaning day, hiring trucks, mobilizing people here and there, paying people here and there. It's something that will not be sustainable. That's what I think, and that's what I know. It will never be sustainable. So it's time also for our policymakers to think of sustainable measures of how people should clean. It boils down to regulation and policy. It boils down to enforcement at the community level, at the zonal level. Because government or city council cannot sit in the waterways, but the community can. So that's why we're taking this to the community. Let the community also bring initiatives, think out of the box solutions to make sure they clean their environment, and they will be rewarded for those who take the biggest leap to maintain their environment. They will attract development, because governments as well as councils are constrained by funds. Yeah. We've seen the global economic trend. But if you can do something in your community, in your area, to attract investment, to attract roads, we have a lot of unpaved roads in this Freetown. But again, communities can attract these. Communities can attract solar lights. You know, when government was putting solar lights, they don't go to communities. They do the main roads. But this is also an opportunity for communities to work hard, clean and maintain their environment, and then attract solar lights. Lit your community. It becomes beautiful.
Certainly. Now, another issue is spaces for market people to sell. You would agree with me that most of what we see visible as garbage is being generated, in the streets, or where people gather, or where they have turned to marketplaces. People selling in the streets, hawkers, and the likes. Those places you go there, like for example, we have Bacha Street here. When you go there, you see a huge chunk of filth, standing in the middle of the road whenever the country has its cleaning Saturday. So now, where do they go? Because if these people continue to sell in the streets, we'll continue to expect huge piles of garbage being generated at every instance the country observes its cleaning day.
The cleaner zone competition also takes market communities into consideration.
Market communities?
Market communities, because every market in Freetown belongs to a zone. Okay. This zone may have a market. And so, what do you do with your market waste? Now, the idea of council or government cleaning for markets, we're working with the markets, with the market, Sierra Leone Market Association. They have an association. We're working closely with them to see how they clean and manage and sustain clean of markets. But unfortunately enough, everywhere in Freetown is a marketplace.
Exactly. So that's the question.
That is why recently 26 or so streets were banned from street trade. But that one was getting traders. There's a traders association. We'll work with them to relocate some traders. We have a problem.
Do we have markets
now
built in
we've just sent out EOIs for expression of interest for construction of markets, because we know most of Freetonians we have a huge percentage of business people in Freetown, especially littered, dotted all over the central business district. But you can't chase them off the streets if you don't have somewhere to put them.
So where do you put them?
So we're working on getting construction of more markets. We have markets all around Freetown. Some of these traders are not even using those markets.
Oh,
so again,
are you sure? They have been complaining that they don't have places to sell, they don't have market. That's why they are going to this.
We went to the Kisi market some time back. The market itself is empty, but people are just lined up across the street. So again, it's about, we've looked and mapped all those structures, and they're going to be done so that they get more people in. Because the thing about driving people up the streets is getting somewhere for them. And that's what the council is working on. They've sent out EOIs, not only for markets, but for public toilets and also for parking. Because all these parking lots, all these are things that contribute to our city becoming an eyesore. So the current mayor has all these challenges to grapple with. But you know, you bite little by little, you take it little by little. She's got a whole 4-year transformation plan that she's put together that will be launched on the 24th of January. That will be the time, yes, that will be the time the cleanest zone competition winner will be announced. There's going to be a Transform Freetown forum, wherein a 4-year transformation plan for Freetown, taking education, health, sanitation, environment, urban mobility, urban planning, water, and all these sectors. The mayor has 9 priority sectors. And so she's going to launch this initiative so that Freetonians know this is the plan, this is where we are heading. And every 6 months, she comes back and says, this is what we planned, this is what we've done, this is what we are to do. Okay. And in those Transform Freetown forums, every 6 months, we will announce the cleanest zone competition winner in Freetown.
Okay. So in case you're just joining us, this is the Views live on Freetown Television Network on channel 35, and on Freetown Radio you're listening on 90.4 frequency modulation. I am Eustace Victor Jones. He is Lyndon Baines Johnson, an analyst from the Mayor's Delivery Office, discussing ways forward in which the ministry will work with the people so that dirt or garbage could be reduced in the capital city, Freetown. But we don't have much time left to arrive to the conclusion of the program for today's edition. Now, Lyndon, before we move to final comments and the likes and what you expect to see in the future, another key aspect is decentralization. Our capital city is centralized. Offices, big institutions, ministries and the likes, they are all stationed in the capital city, a very great indicator which had contributed to the city being populated over the years. How would the council help in having other cities around Sierra Leone? Because it is because we don't have much cities, we only rely on Freetown. Our Freetown is the central business district. Freetown, we have offices there. And most of those who come here are workers, staff at offices, establishments and the likes. So if they all flock together in just a very minuscule, territorial, demarcation, it becomes over congestion, and you see the place will also continue to be, filthy. We don't have much dumping sites. You said you are trying to transform the city and the likes, but I'm being candid with you here. If you don't have decentralized places, minuscule cities where people could flock together to work, I'm afraid we'll be revolving around the same thing over and over again.
Well,
I'm not sure you have such powers.
No, well, we should first of all know where we're coming from. 20 or 30 years ago, Freetown was a small city, over less than 500,000 people. Today we almost have 1.5 million just in Freetown. What has happened over the years? We had war, and that displaced a lot of people. and they came to Freetown and never went back. Again, we look at, there are lots of, government has made strides over the past 10 years to decentralize. Local councils have been, in 2004, we got local councils operating again. And from that time to now, we've seen a lot of functions being taken away from central government, local government. But again, this is not just about councils. It's about how we as Sierra Leoneans want to go as a future. Freetown is already jam-packed. And if you look at the topography of Freetown, there are hills and valleys. So it's difficult. And we've adopted bad building and urban planning methods over the years. People build anywhere over gutters, build without access roads, without a lot of just what they say, job lots.
Meaning it's impossible for us to
so it's difficult. No, it's not about decentralization, it's about planning. Decentralization is the government's business. And the government is trying, as far as I know, to get lots of things decentralized. We've gone a little bit far in decentralization. That's why you have local councils operating, doing their own mandates according to the Local Government Act of 2004. But still, we have to go on to full decentralization. The president in his maiden address, even in his campaign, said when he comes, we'll make sure a lot of functions are decentralized. I mean, government has a lot of burden.
Yeah.
So there are some functions they will decentralize to local councils and municipal government so that they carry on. Because for even like cleaning the city, it's council's responsibility. For taking charge of cemeteries, the government cannot do that, but it has decentralized that function to councils. So the more powers government capacitates councils with, the more efficient councils will be in running out the affairs of their particular localities. Again, it's about, in the future, because sometimes we think, where do we want our grandchildren to live in this Freetown? We already have a problem of space. So I know the next policy, the next generation will be thinking of getting a new city.
Yeah.
That will be planned. That will be, as Freetown will remain as a commercial capital, and then we have an administrative capital. You move government buildings and offices elsewhere, and that's how you decongest. Or we have a Lunge Bridge. People will leave. Instead of living in slums here, they go over and live at Lunge. You decongest the city. So all these are plans not only for councils, it's how the government wants things to run and direct people, and that's how we go as a nation. Okay.
Because presently I will tell you that the city is very small for the number of population it is presently occupying, which is also very worrisome.
And that's why we have this whole problem of waste management and space.
Exactly. Because even the likes of Bome and King Tom, where dirties are being thrown, are very small compared to what it is holding presently.
We've exceeded the size,
the capacity
of what these places can take. Even if you look at our village systems, for example, long years back we have little village systems that can just take the amount of water that flows in, but there are communities that are sprouted up the hills. So that massive chunk of water that comes, our drainage systems can no longer hold. So that's why we have flooding, for instance. So it's about rethinking what way to go for the future.
All right. So now, as we close, what do we expect? When do we expect results in all of these fine and beautiful plans we have here this afternoon from the council?
Well, for the cleanest zone competition, I want communities to understand that it is their responsibility to clean and maintain. Assessors are going around communities right now. You see them openly. You can talk to some people, just observing how the communities are. And by November, December, they'll be going again, covertly, secretly, to do the assessment. Look at gutters, waterways, bridges where people dump, look at the environment, look at how they are doing things to maintain it clean. And they will be comparing what they saw in this pre-assessment to what they see when they go to grade. And they'll be grading from a scale of 1 to 10. Is this gutter clean? It's clean a little bit. They'll give you either 1 to 10 based on how clean it is in all the other criteria. And then we've constituted an independent panel of judges who are credible Sierra Leoneans, who will be the panel to look at the data and the results and then announce the winner that will be announced on the 24th of January at the Transform Freetown Forum, when the mayor will be launching the 4-year transformation city plan.
Thanks very much. That's how we come to the end of today's edition of The Views, live on Freetown Television Network and also on Freetown Radio on FM 90.4. I had in the studio Lyndon Baines Johnson, an analyst from the Mayoress's Delivery Office, discussing plans in which the ministry could be able to cope with a huge quantity of dirt being generated in the capital city. God help them, all of these plans are achieved towards the time they will start achieving them, also because we'll be doing checks and balances on the media and all of that, so that these things will not only be said but eventually will be achieved. I wish you well on your plans, and so many thanks to those of you also who viewed and also listened on the radio to the program. The program returns tomorrow at exactly 12 o'clock. Until then, I have been Eustace Victor Jones saying thanks for watching and listening. Bye for now. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Sorry, no. Thanks very, very much. The issues are many.